Planning is a complicated activity. It requires an organization to make its best estimate of what the future will be. At any point in time, all that planners have to work with is what happened in the past. They face the challenge of translating this knowledge into a useful forecast of the future. For shorter planning horizons, most widely used forecasting methods, such as time series analysis or regression, use the most recent history to project into the future. This is like boxing, where planners assume the current trends and conditions will continue into the foreseeable future. For relatively short periods, like a month, a quarter, or a year or two, it is usually okay to assume that the near future will be similar to the recent past. These traditional methods, however, do not perform as well for longer-term horizons, 10, 20, 30 years out or more. The question is, how should we plan over these long time frames? Using traditional methods over a long planning horizon will only lead to a longer projection of the current conditions and trends. Over a longer period of time, current trends simply will not hold. Step changes and unforeseen events will occur. Natural disasters, political unrest, economic upheavals, technological innovations, any one of these can cause tremendous changes. Traditional forecasting methods are simply not designed to handle these unforeseen step changes. This brings us back to the problem of how to make long-term plans. Obviously, boxing, or extending the current trends, does not make sense for a long-term horizon. For these long-range plans, traditional forecasting techniques are like throwing darts at a board. Fortunately, there is a different approach, called scenario planning. Instead of trying to predict the one future that will occur, it might make sense to consider multiple possible futures all at once. Scenario planning is based on the idea that organizations are better at preparing than they are at predicting. If I tell an organization exactly what the future will be like, they can usually do a great job preparing for it. Scenario planning is a way to prepare for multiple potential futures. This is more like judo. Instead of boxing or projecting forward to a fixed future based on the recent past, planners prepare to respond to any one of several possible futures. They do this by answering the question, what should I be doing today given that this particular future is going to happen? In scenario planning, it is key to keep in mind that each future we choose is just one potential future out of many. We do not seek to predict exactly which future will come to pass because there are an infinite number of potential, possible, and plausible futures out there. Because it is impossible to explore all of them, we must create a handful of plausible, alternative futures that together capture the most relevant uncertainties and driving factors. Think of these as describing the potential feasible region for the future. When we look forward from the present, we can't tell in which direction we will end up moving, but by carefully designing potential scenarios, a lot of ground can be covered. In scenario planning, there is no need to predict specific events. It is more important to identify the smaller number of relevant effects that these events can trigger. For example, for a firm that sources material from a specific region of the world, any number of events in that region, an earthquake, a pandemic, economic collapse, or an industrial disaster, will all have the same effect of reducing the flow of product from it. There's no need to predict all of these events, when all they do is shape a handful of important effects. In the end, this offers a real benefit for planners. Scenario planning allows them to replace the futile job of predicting future events with the more feasible task of preparing their organizations to face the most relevant effects.